Welcome back to Platonically Yours, the podcast about platonic love. We are on Ngunnawal and Ngambri country again today, and we want to pay our respects to their elders past and present and recognise that sovereignty was never ceded. Today we are joined again by Jemma. Welcome back.
I'm so excited. Our first episode was such a blast.
It was gorgeous. So if you've not listened to it, please go back right to the start of this season and have a listen. We talked about
making friends as an adult and the importance of community in doing so.
And step-by-step actions.
Yes.
Practical tips to do it. Not
practical.
just friends are important.
Yes, exactly.
How to actually find them.
Yeah, exactly. A great way to start the season off.
But today we want to talk to you about male-female friendships in your 20s.
Let's do it. It's controversial.
It's
It
controversial,
is.
and it's also a topic that, like, I know your listeners have been very interested to, like, get your take on. And again, like, whenever we kind of reach out to our community, we're like, what do you want us to talk about, like, on the pod or whatever? They're always like, male-female friendships. Like, what's going on there? Like, why can't I be... Like, why is it weird that I'm close with, like, my guy friend or vice versa? I've had... Actually, one of the first people that reached out to us for the topic was a guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like, he was a male, and he was like, I'd be really keen to, like, understand that more and, like, how you actually have relationships, like, friendships with women and it not be sexually driven.
Yeah. I have some thoughts on this.
Yeah.
What are your initial thoughts on male-female friendships? Do you have more female friends or male friends?
Such a good question. I mean, historically, I've had a lot of male friends. I always feel really comfortable around men. In fact, I find women quite intimidating. But I think, yeah, as an adult, maybe more female friendships, because there's something about being in your late 20s and then when you really connect with a man as a straight woman, you're like, oh.
I know.
And they're like, oh. And it's so hard to know where that line is.
It's like a scarcity mindset thing as well. Especially even if you don't believe it, unconsciously you're always like, I better find someone. Like, love.
Could this be them?
Yes, I need it to be romantic because once I have the romantic relationship ticked off, then everything else I can just focus on that. But it does feel like I've got to get the romantic one done before I turn 30 or I'm going to be a spinster, I'm going to be whatever. It's a big thing.
Yeah. No, I would agree. I similarly, like, I was always very close to male, like, men. Like, growing up, I was like the tomboy, like, really, I have a really close relationship with my brother, and we actually have someone coming on the next episode. His name's Michael, and we've been friends since we were born. And so those sorts of relationships, it always felt very comfortable to me. So it really was only in my 20s that I think I shifted towards, like, a more of a female-orientated, like, friendship group, because you're just going through, like, the same experiences.
Yeah.
And I think it just became a bit harder to relate. But in saying that, I also have really close relationships with men. But I think it isn't, and this is a huge caveat for this episode, is this is male-female friendship, so those people identifying as that.
Yeah.
And also coming from, like, a straight person's perspective.
Yeah.
I think that's really important to say.
It's a hetero episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
And actually, I've looked into the research on this and friendships between queer women and straight women, or gay men and straight men, or any number of those, and there's really nothing.
Yeah.
It's
really?
great. Yeah, I really wanted to, because I did an episode on male-female friendships, and I was like, I want to talk about this from a different perspective, and there's limited stuff. Not surprising.
Yeah.
So I think also I'm not a queer person. I'm not a member of the LGBTQIA plus community, so I can't really talk about it from that perspective either.
Yeah.
But
I just wanted to throw it in.
Yeah, no,
you know?
I know.
We haven't forgotten
you guys. But it's like, I think it's definitely in a heteronormative world, like,
yeah,
God, the pressure to, like, see a man as a straight woman and be like, that needs to be your husband.
Yeah.
And you can't, and any man who you meet should be a potential love interest, or is an opportunity to not be single anymore, and, you know, to avoid the shame of being a single woman.
Yeah.
Is like a huge thing.
Yeah.
I have found, I'll answer the question that I posed to you guys. I had only started making male friends when I went to uni. Not because I went to, like, a co-ed school. It just was like, boys were stinky, and, like, I just wasn't friends with them. And then I only started making friends when I came to uni. And then I have really close male friends who I have known since like literally the day I stepped foot in Canberra back in 2017. But what I found is that, and I'll be completely candid, I have a long-term boyfriend now. And I don't know what it is, but I've not made a new male friend since I started dating him.
Yeah.
No. And it's not because he's jealous, and it's not because he's like, because he really doesn't care. Like, I'm really good friends with my friends' boyfriends.
Yeah.
I don't really count them as my friends. Like, you know, we're friendly, but if you and my friend broke up, I'm not going to be your friend, right? Like,
It's interesting though, because I've
Yeah.
been kind of talking to people about this, like in the lead up to recording this with you, and a lot of people are saying the same thing. Like, I just don't really, like, I might have one or two male friends, but like I don't have an urge to like, to have those friendships. And I think that's really interesting. And I think a part of it like is how society runs a little bit, like how we've been brought up, but also like the history of gender and the history of like friendship more broadly, which is a huge topic that we're not going to be able to get into today. But I do think there's always been this very like, I don't know, kind of understanding of men are like public sphere, like, and women are for the private.
Yeah.
And I think that continues to run through like our culture and society. And even though it is, like we were saying last night at dinner, like now is the best time to be like a woman in the world. But there is still this like imaginary like division.
There is. And it's, what I always say to people is that's been happening for years and years and years. Obviously, like there were some communities and groups of people who, you know, millennia ago or thousands of years ago didn't have that same division. But definitely in recent history, in Western society and other societies, like men exist here, women exist there. And this only in the last 2 generations or 3 generations has it started to become like, oh, men and women can be friends and there's no sexual thing going on. And that's 3 generations versus 300 generations.
Yeah.
You can't expect that deeply ingrained belief system to not kind of bleed into things or even still be present in the media or present in just like everyday interactions.
And I think you also need to consider like when these changes started to take place and we started to see these things happen, it was like with the rise of social movements. So like with the growth of like community in a sense, but political like community. So you saw like feminism strengthening, you saw like the sexual liberation movement, you saw like the racial justice movement.
Just like all norms changing.
All norms are being teared out by the seams. So gently, you know, we have seen changes occur, but I think not everyone's going to lean into that. Like not everyone's going to be a part of those movements. So it's difficult because you can't change a whole society when people aren't showing up to those kind of communities. So it's really, really interesting.
For me, I really adore having male friendships in my life. And I actively seek them out and still feel really comfortable around men, like within a friendship. I guess I struggle to know where the line is where like when you're connecting really deeply, you know, and then it's like when does it tip over to being non-platonic, you know, and knowing where that line is. Like can you be attracted to someone but have it remain totally platonic?
Yeah.
I feel like it just gets a bit blurry there.
I don't think you can.
You don't think so?
I think I've said this to people. I've said this to people before. One of you cannot be attracted to the other one and never have any form of attraction. And I think the moment that there is attraction on both people's parts, it's like
Which
gets
is funny though,
complicated.
because surely when you kind of are drawn to anyone, platonically or romantically, you're a little bit attracted to them in some way.
Yeah.
Like
I
intellectually,
kind of agree.
emotionally,
I think physically though.
physically,
I'm
yeah,
like,
like sexually.
Sexually, that's what I
That's where
I
you
meant.
draw the line. Yeah,
I'm like, I just don't think it works. Like, and I also mean this from like the man's point of view. Like, there's a study that's very, very famous about this. When it was basically can men and women be friends?
Yeah.
And often, actually, I will say this caveat: women being sexually attracted to the man is sometimes not a problem, but when the man is, it's a big problem.
Yeah.
Because often what they'll say is, I'm sexually attracted to her, and I know she's sexually attracted to me as well. And Sometimes that's most of the time not the case.
Yeah.
And then they pursue it as if it is. Whereas most women will say, I'm attracted to this guy, but I know he's not attracted to me. So they can put up like a barrier between them and pursuing. Whereas the men, at least in this study, found that very difficult. And so what I often say is like, I think maybe I'll go back on what I said before. I think attraction from the woman is sometimes is okay, but once the guy's attracted to the guy, to this person, like I don't think it kind of gets really messy because I think they're used to being viewed as the pursuer.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, well now it's my job to pursue this person, and
Interesting.
I don't know, it gets very complicated. What I always say though is that I do think men and women can be friends, but the same way that any friendship requires respect, requires reciprocity, requires likeness in some capacity.
Yeah.
And what I've often found is that sometimes when you have someone who was a male friend who suddenly, as soon as they're attracted to you, like all of that goes out the window, you can't be friends with him. Is it because of his gender? No, it's because he doesn't meet the profile of a respectful friend. Same with women, you know what I mean? Like if suddenly you have you're a guy and you have a girlfriend and one of your friends is attracted to you and she is disrespectful of that relationship, like it doesn't even matter about gender, it doesn't matter about sexual attraction. What matters is respect.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think that when you're like, I want this and I want to be with you and I think we'd be amazing, you can make you into a selfish person and you don't respect the sacredness of the friendship.
So with that in mind, do you think, say, if you were building a new friendship with the opposite sex as a straight person, you need to be like self-aware from the get-go that you're not attracted to them and therefore you can proceed with a platonic relationship?
Because no, like what if it does turn into a relationship, right? Like,
well, yeah.
You're like, I can only be friends with you if I don't want to date you, but if I do want to date you, well then...
And that's also a beautiful place for a romantic relationship to begin.
And
so
you know, actually a third of people do meet their partners by being friends first. What I think you need to be aware of is I think within a short while you need to know where you stand.
Yeah.
And I think the reason male-female friendships can sometimes get chaotic is when no one's being real about how they feel.
Yeah. But that's also the same in any sort of friendship.
Exactly.
Like when I was prepping for this episode, like a big thing that kept coming to my mind was like what you were saying before. Like it's just like the basis of friendship. Like take away the genders, like if we can. And the way that you can approach making friends with the opposite sex is literally just by ignoring the fact that they are the opposite sex. Like, yeah. I think sometimes you require that.
Yeah.
Because you automatically remove that, like, sexual appeal in a way.
Yeah.
You're kind of just like, it is what it is. Like, let's just see how this conversation goes. And I know that's like a difficult thing to do and there is like chemistry and stuff like that. But I think if you're approaching making friends in that way, it might be a little bit easier.
And I think also remembering to obviously not write someone off if they're not a romantic interest and they're the opposite sex. I think that can sometimes happen when you're like really hyper-fixated on like, when am I going to find my person? And like, could I sleep with them? It'd be fun to sleep with someone. And so you meet the opposite sex as a straight person and you're like, and then if it's not a vibe, you're like, never mind.
And
like, don't do that.
That gets back to what Jemma was saying right at the start. Like, there's always like, there's this fixation that like, we have to find someone to like love and be with for the rest of our lives. But really, what if we just had amazing friends for the rest of our lives? Like, what if that was your love story, you know?
I also kind of want to make a little bit of space for, and I know this is not super common, but I am now really good platonic friends with my ex.
Oh, okay.
And I feel like, I don't know, that's also, it doesn't always work depending on the relationship, but
I think it depends on the people. I think.
But I'm just thinking about the whole, like, you could become friends, just see them as a friend, not be attracted to them, and then it end up into a romantic relationship. But on the inverse, you can also date someone and then obviously if you've not, you know, really hurt each other or whatever, you can then maintain a really beautiful friendship from that.
I think when you drop sexual attraction into anything, it's like it immediately, because our society isn't good at talking about it and isn't good about, it's still kind of like taboo. It just makes everything like super like complicated because you suddenly think there's a new rule book to be playing by, right? You're like, wait. It's like having the manual to something and then being like, wait, that's the wrong freaking manual. I've been playing the game wrong. And then you have to find the other one. Like, I'm glad you and your ex can be friends though. It does show that it's nuanced. And I think when people ask the question, can men and women be friends? They want someone to say yes or no.
Mm-hmm.
Neither answer is going to be correct.
Yeah, it totally depends on your unique dynamic.
I used to be like, no, but then people would be like, but you have male friends. And I was like, but that's different. And I was like, yes. You know what I mean? Like, it's very nuanced. And I think there are definitely people who would come in and be like, I remember I met this girl once who was like, well, now I'm married. Why would I need a male friend? And I was like, because, and I was like, because what if that person could bring something to your life? And she was like, well, my husband does all of that for me. And I was like, so that's very viewing like male and female energy as like a dichotomy. And like once, you know, and it was, so
Completely.
I don't agree
That's
with that
heartbreaking.
either.
That's heartbreaking to hear.
I was like, cool. So the only guys you're ever going to be friends with the rest of your life are, you know, your family member or your husband.
And I think this is kind of where I wanted the conversation to go. Like, I think what we get and what we gain from being friends with the opposite sex is over and above what we can probably imagine. I think I find in my circles the men who even just come from a family of females completely different to a male family. I guess I don't know what I'm saying, but you get what I mean. Very different, and very different approach to how they interact with people. And doesn't matter what gender you are, doesn't matter like if you're queer or not, like there's a different, I don't know, like they come into the conversation differently. They are different, like in their poise, I guess. And I think it's because they've had access to, and through that they've become friends with females that aren't outside of their family because it's what's familiar to them. So getting back to this like familiarity thing. And because you have those interactions, you've kind of walked a mile in their shoes.
Yeah.
And so
definitely.
so by doing that, you actually become a better human.
Yeah.
Because you understand the struggles people go through, and they may not necessarily be like you.
Yeah.
And so I think that's something that I really want everyone to like take away from listening to this episode is like, they're so valuable. Like they really are so valuable, and they will help all aspects of your life. So they're definitely worth pursuing. And I think you just need to go about them like you were saying, like just treat them like any other relationship in your life. Like the baseline is respect. Like have respect for them and just see where it goes, and just walk up to them and be like, I want to be your friend.
Yeah.
You know,
I wanna be your friend.
I want to be your friend. Let's go. Like I think that's really important.
Yeah, and I think more broadly it also speaks to just becoming friends with anyone who's quite different from you.
Yeah.
Whether it's the opposite sex or
someone who's a bit older.
Yeah, older, from a really different community.
Yeah.
Or outside of the binary, you know, gender norms as well, like non-binary folks and queer folks, like if that's not part of your community but you still just
exactly.
There's so much to learn and to gain from just being friends with people that are different from you.
Yeah. And going back to like our first episode with Jemma where we were talking about like that, like self-knowledge and self-growth, like you will also grow a lot by having like a diverse friendship group.
You will.
And I think you've kind of, it's surprising how much you do find in, like that you can relate on, that you otherwise, you know, I think it's easy to look at someone who looks like you or talks like you or dresses like you and be like, yeah, my person.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, you are going to relate in ways that you don't even realize with people who are so different from you, whether it's the opposite sex or another community or whatever. Yeah.
So just put yourself out there.
Put yourself out there and be open to everyone.
It's totally worth
it. And realize
it.
that sometimes like it's not about gender. It's again about empathy and respect. And if someone can't handle that, doesn't matter if they're a man or a woman or whatever they are, like it's not going to work anyways. So
yeah. So I hope someone takes something.
I hope someone learns something from this.
Just I guess have the confidence to just try, and don't be restricted by the normative structures in our lives and how we've been taught to think. Like step outside of that.
And if the relationship isn't working and you're like, wait, you're suddenly super weird and you only see me as this sex object, like lose them.
Yeah,
like,
remove yourself from their space.
It's okay to lose friends. It's actually healthy sometimes.
Well, before we wrap up, we actually asked everyone on the podcast, and because it's your second episode, I thought I'd save it for this episode. But what does platonic love mean to you?
I saw this question actually, and I think that platonic love for me really just means someone is just being seen in a way that is just actually really magical and electric. And platonic love means to me knowing that there's less pressure, and that kind of makes it more freeing in a way. You know, I think it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that's a lovely answer.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thanks for having me on, guys.
No.
Thanks so much for joining us again. It's just been an absolute treat to have you and to meet you.
Yay, thank you.
And where can everyone find you again? Can you tell us?
Yeah, so I have 2 podcasts, The Psychology of Your 20s and Mantra. You can find them wherever you listen to podcasts. I also just had a book come out called Person in Progress, which you can buy anywhere you find books, or you can follow me on Instagram at Jemma Speg, Jemma with a J.
Lovely.
And you can find us at Platonically Yours Podcast on Instagram, Spotify, Apple Music, etc.
Yeah, wherever you get your things. It's all there.
Storefront for things.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks again.
Thanks, Jemma.